Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon or Mutalis on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is just Jeremy on Discord. I'm just Jeremy on Discord now.
And this is Aaron. I go by Treffenwood.
What
Alrighty.
are you doing?
What do you mean, what am I doing? You know what I'm doing.
Just stop.
I love that every time there's this little pause and clickety clickety clack clack, and everyone now knows what's happening.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I mean, we're going to have to open up our Discord just so people can see the names change.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
My favorite is when like people try to tag you and they're like, what the fuck is his name this week?
Yeah, it's... Oh, boy. I apologize.
All right. Parker, good news. You're down to 728 probationary episodes.
And counting.
You're just chopping it down.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Don't we have a bet going? Oh, yeah. Next Captain America will not be an Avenger. And that's it for right now.
Yep.
All right. So, Parker, do we have any news?
We do.
News.
Hey,
News!
Yes. News.
So, we know that Logan the Wolverine is going to be a character in the game. That's what we know. We also have his card, and I kind of don't want to talk about it because of how sad it makes me.
I say this whole segment, I was just going to ask Jeremy for his immediate gut-wrenching reaction.
Yeah, my mouthfeel on this was quite poor. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to rip this Band-Aid off. Here we go. This is Logan the Wolverine.
Is it, though?
It is.
Is it, though?
That's a really good question. Is it, though?
The mouthfeel is like a lava rock.
Yeah, it's like a pumice stone.
AMG is just trying to save everyone $100. Calm down.
We're personally being trolled.
I just want to say, can I just tell people what's on this damn? Okay,
Just summarize.
Yes, he has 6 on the both sides. He has 4 defense and 4 energy defense. There you go. He's had 4 better energy defense. Hey, there you go. He is size 2.
Mystic still 2, by the way.
His Mystic is still 2. I'm not talking about the things that are bad.
So
Is that how we're going to do this?
We're done then.
He's a really good character. He's a really good character if you look at these 3 things.
Is he?
Let's
We just talked about last week how there's like 9 3.4 energy characters.
I'm going to tell you how good he is. Here we go. He does have X slash, which is a range 3 now. It's exactly the same as his old one. 5 dice. It does have a wild pierce. He gets power equal damage, and he places within 1 after he attacks. Really cool. This is actually one of the really interesting things about his card because almost everybody else has to pay power for this. Is there anybody who does this on a builder or a gainer in the game? I don't think so.
Yes, Iron Fist.
Iron Fist does. Okay, so Iron Fist is the other one. But it is a builder, not a gainer, right?
I think Beast does too.
Nope, Beast moves on a wild.
It's not automatic. It's not automatic yet.
Yeah. So I think this is pretty darn cool. That is cool. He also has a spender. It's a spender. It costs 4. It's 7 dice. It is a beam 3 with pierce and bleed. And then after all the attacks have been resolved, he can place himself within range 1 of the last character targeted. So like if you have 3 characters targeted, the last one you choose to take the roll, he can then place within 1. So both of his attacks place him, and both are range 3. So interesting. The rest of the card is fine. It's really interesting actually, but I don't want to talk about it.
What about
The rest
on
of
the
the card
hunt?
is
You
fine.
don't want to talk about on the hunt?
Say there's 2 very important things you have to read, so just get through it.
Okay.
I'll read it if you don't want to.
I got it. I could do it. I
Okay.
guess. I swear I could do it. Okay.
I believe you.
3 power. What I do isn't very nice. It's an action. It lets him immediately make an X slash attack, and then if the target is size 3 or less, it throws the target short. So it's kind of like Malekith minus the move, but he does move with the X slash, so it's similar.
I guess.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he moves with the X slash, and since both of the things are after the attack is resolved, he could move and then throw.
Yeah.
So it's similar.
Yeah.
But it costs 3 power. Adamantium Skeleton is the same as it used to be. He counts as size 3. Get Out of My Head is his passive. Interesting passive. The first time this character is damaged by an enemy mystic attack, after the attack is resolved, other allied characters within 3 of him all take 1 damage, and they get 1 power for this. So basically, Logan becomes a 1 damage AoE to everyone within 3 of him. Every time he's damaged by... the first time this character is damaged by a mystic attack each turn.
Yep.
So he himself does not take it because he's doing the damage. But
worst superpower in the game.
No, let's keep going. Let's get through it, then we can talk about it.
Last passive, On the Hunt. When this character makes an attack, if there are no allied characters within 3, this character may reroll up to 2 of its attack dice. So he has to reroll 2 if he's all by himself. He has Healing Factor 2 and Immunity Stun.
And Adamantium Skeleton, which is same as other Wolverine.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I did mention
that. Oh, did you? Okay. Okay, Jeremy, vomit words at me. You're doing a bad job. None of these were words.
How do you even... So, did they ban X-23? Did I miss something?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
The announcement hasn't come yet.
I mean, I don't understand. Like, I'm completely dumbfounded. Why in the holy fuck? I mean, there's so many things you could do with this. I have no idea what's the reasoning, aside from... So, X-Force might have some sort of fantastic thing where you can't actually damage Logan. Well, there's a thing. Like, I don't know. Like, what in the holy hell? I don't get it. I do not get it.
Aaron, do you have thoughts?
So I think he's actually pretty good with the new tactics card. That in Weapon X, you get excessive healing back every turn, just like Eye in the Sky. That makes him pretty hard to kill.
Wait, what?
The regenerative Weapon X tactics card, where you get excessive healing back in your hand.
We didn't talk about that. Where's that at?
Oh, what? I just made it fucking up, but it would make him awesome, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Parker, do you want to get your hot takes out of the way before I start talking?
Yeah. I will actually say, at face value, he is different than the original Wolverine, because the original Wolverine, kind of rolled down the middle and he kind of rolled downhill. And what's sad about him is that X-23 does a very similar thing, but probably much better for 1 point less. And that's the problem with the old Wolverine, is he got outclassed. I think this Wolverine does slightly sidestep and go down a different path. Literally, he's not rolling downhill. He's going to be in the center with the rest of your army. He's going to be off fighting on a flank by himself. There is one thing I would say about him that I think is interesting. While he's by himself, he's rerolling 2 of his dice. He does get a Wild Pierce. He is going to place himself. So unless your opponent can push him or throw him away beyond range 3, which they could try, but if they can do that, he's going to have a hard time. But if they can't do that, he's always going to go back onto the point. He's going to heal after he does it, so your opponent has to try to do it again. He's going to do damage, and likely he's going to throw with his second action, because he's going to spin 3 to make another X-slash attack and throw you. So in this way, he is, I think, a similar... not great analogy, but a similar character might be someone like a Black Panther for 4 points, because he's going to be able to sit on the side, push people away, and unlike Black Panther, he's going to be more bruiser and killy than Black Panther is. Black Panther may not ever kill anyone, but this Wolverine might.
I think Black Panther's a really bad comp, but okay.
The only reason why is Black Panther is so much more difficult to down. And this Logan can just be gacked, right? Like, he's got 6 health and 4 defenses and no way to change that. Healing Factor 2 lets him do it. If he's not killed, he'll come back and, it'll make it harder to get you. And he will have excessive healing once, maybe. So
he's a bad Gamora. And Gamora's terrible.
I think he's much better than Gamora. I think he's much better than Gamora.
Gamora is actually useless, in my opinion. I think... Okay, I'm going to say stuff now. I actually think he's good. I don't think he's good in, like, the grand scheme of the meta, but I think he's a good 4-point model. He is definitely in the upper half of 4-point models released, which I know isn't really hard to get to with today's model design. But he's clearly better than regular Wolverine, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think he is clearly better than most 4-point bruisers. And I think people are really underestimating the level of mobility he has. Like you said, if he gets out of range 3 of people, that's not great. but it's not easy to get him out of range 3 people because he's placing every turn.
Right.
Sometimes multiple times a turn.
Yes.
And so you're going to need multiple control effects to get him out of range 3. And then he'll move and be right back base to base with you. And so worst case scenario, you're probably moving once and getting a big attack. The fact that he can spend the 3 for a guaranteed throw up to size 3 that's omnidirectional, I think is huge. He can throw the vast majority of models in the game, and it's guaranteed unconditional. That's huge.
What's really cool is you get a throw for 3 costs, which is actually pretty common, a throw for 3 costs, and on top of that, you can do an X-Slash, which might reroll twice and have Pierce. Like, you can do a lot of damage with that throw, because it's an attack and a throw.
Well, it adds throw to your next X-Slash, yes. Yeah. But because they both trigger at the same time, like you pointed out earlier, I can throw you into somebody and then place next to them and do my beam attack. And so he's going to be able, if he starts with a bunch of power, he'll be able to set up some crazy good tornado claws. Because you can just, what I do isn't very nice, into an efficient builder, throw them into a line, drop behind the line, and then throw your beam 3 out. And now that you've placed away from your friends, everything's rerolling 2 dice on a 7-die beam. That is a hugely efficient attack that's almost always going to trigger Pierce on all of them, because you're effectively rolling 9 dice on all of them. I think there's actually a lot of good things about this guy. The things he's missing are heavy survivability and action economy. Those are the only 2 things he's really missing. And so as long as you can keep him on the board, so if you put him on a flank, he's amazing at coming in later and cleaning up.
Yes.
Because he'll just chain to multiple, like, oh, I hit this guy, place within 1. Now I can reach this guy, place within 1 again. Oh, and then I'm going to throw him as part of this. So I'm going to hit you for damage and then throw you into somebody else. And so I think he has really high potential. The problem is, for the 2 things he's missing are actually kind of big. But he's very good at everything he does.
He's never gonna take it on the chin. He should not be your shock troop. Like, he's not gonna do that. You're just gonna lose him and feel sad. But
right, and obviously exceptional healing is in play, but that's not something you want to really rely on. You can't really have a bodyguard because of his negative. I think it's gonna be interesting.
If he's still on the board on turn 5, like, I think he kills their whole army, right? Like, he kills whatever's left. I think he can do that kind of thing. That is what's really cool about him.
Maybe. And this guy is also good at playing no matter the cost, so that you can Blade Tornado for 1.
Yep.
And then just heal 2 of it.
I like solo characters in this game. I like characters to kind of go off and do their own thing. I think I like that kind of character that I can count on to go do that. And I usually play my X-23 like this guy wants to play, which is dive deep and then sit there. And a lot of players I know use her kind of a hit and run model, like they have to come get her, which is really efficient with Storm's leadership and stuff, I know. But I think he's going to do a much better job than X-23 does at the thing I usually do with X-23.
I really think he'll be tied to a tactics card or 2, which is why I went on a rant earlier. So I think he has some glaring holes. I really don't think it's fair to assess him without knowing what else comes in the box.
Yeah. I'm definitely not willing to ever say a character is bad until we see the full release. I think he's getting hated on a bit too much, though.
When you compare this character to, like, actually, here's maybe a better comparison to, like, a Black Panther. We're talking about somebody who could, like, do a whole bunch of damage, like his ceiling might be really high in a turn. Black Swan, right? When you compare, like, Black Swan to this character, he is so much more consistent than Black Swan, because Black Swan doesn't fix her dice very well. So everything she does has to hit. But if it does hit, she's nuts. He will do some similar things to what Black Swan does, but he's actually going to be rerolling 2 of his dice the entire time he does it. That's a lot of top-end damage.
I think that he is... I don't know that's a good comp, because she has everything he doesn't have, which is good defense and action economy. I think the actual comp that people are missing is Carnage. Because he has healing mechanics, he hits like a truck if he can get there, and he's got a great AoE finisher.
But he doesn't move himself very well at all.
What do you mean? Carnage doesn't, or he doesn't?
I guess Carnage has to kill someone in order to move himself. He can then.
Right, so once he's in combat range, he has mobility.
Yeah, I see it. Like once he has combat range, he has mobility. Yep, this would be similar.
Mhm.
I think he has a little bit more initiative than Carnage does, because Carnage, you have to roll, they have to die, then it happens. Whereas he's just going to happen. So
Yeah.
you can like, okay, you're not
Right.
dead, but I'm still throwing you, still placing, still doing the tornado.
I
blow.
think this is the next generation of Carnage, basically.
Mhm.
The better designed version.
I think he's like, what if Beast and Ant-Man had a baby? Give me a weird look.
Why Ant-Man?
Because
Just for
Ant-Man
the
has
beam?
a beam 3 physical 7 dice. Yes.
I wish he was as mobile as Ant-Man.
Right. But Beast provides the mobility and the throw. He's very
So
much
it's like the
Beast.
worst parts of both of them.
Yes.
Okay.
I think there's a little bit of Scornergy with I want him on a flank, but I also want him beaming. Right. I mean, if you take away his beam, he's really not good. For a 4, how about that? I think you need to get work out of his Tornado Claw, right? Because as has
At
been
some
alluded
point,
to,
sure. I don't think he has to do it all the time or anything.
no, but if effective 9 dice beams, oh my god, that's really.
I mean,
good.
if we're just looking at the math, as if you're actually playing him on a flank, if I told you somebody had a range 3 7 dice pierce attack and was only a 4-pointer, you'd be like, fucking sign me up. Like, let's do it. Like, it's got legs. It's not like he's worthless.
for 4 cost though, I mean, it costs 4 power to do that, so you typically need to be hitting more than one person, right? Am I wrong?
No, it's just his X slash is range 3
Oh,
7
that
dice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
So I think what's going to happen is the box set's going to come out. No one's going to, like, a small percentage of people will buy it. And it'll be the diehard Wolverine fans, and they'll play it. And what will usually happen when diehard fans buy something, they'll lose a lot of games because they don't put the work in to make it good. They just put it on the table. And so all the casual people will be like, oh, I love my new Wolverine. Look at his cool motorcycle. And it'll just kind of pass by, and, like, we'll move on.
Yep.
And a few months will pass. And then it's like he'll actually start seeing play, and people go, what does he do? And then, like, they'll start seeing him, like, ping pong through their list, just murdering people left and right because of his dice efficiency and his range and his mobility. And they won't know how to play against him. I think he's going to come out of nowhere in a few months, and people will realize they slept on him.
I think one of the things I'm excited for him is exactly what you said, which is you can send him down the middle because of his ability to place himself. He can actually place, throw someone, place next to them, and then beam. And so now he's way the fuck back there, right?
Mhm.
Doing all the things he wants to do. And now your opponent's like, okay, I could turn around and try to kill Logan, right? Or I could deal with the rest of the army coming down the middle. Like, I like that a lot. One more thing I noticed about this character. I don't know if anybody had said, he has no leadership. So one more little piece of the puzzle that Weapon X may be an affiliation similar to Convocation, where it might be a tactics card.
I've been
floating
saying that
leadership.
too. I think it would be ridiculous to think it would be anything else.
Yeah.
Because we know it's not going to be Sabretooth. Like, he's the least team player of all of them.
Mhm.
And so unless there's just going to be another release beside them that we don't know about, that's going to be like, I don't know, what the fuck is the Colonel's name? Stryker? Unless they're really release Stryker, the team leader, as like a 2-pointer or something that just like barks orders at people. It's got to be a tactics card or something. Which is actually, historically speaking, the worst leaderships. Because, like, they're always fucking weird and, like, costly in some way. Convocation, I think, was a mistake. I don't think they'll ever make one that efficient again. So I think it'll be more like First of the Black Order.
I'm actually much more excited about this faction now. With that, I don't know why, but leadership with Logan, stuck to Logan. I like the floating leadership thing. I like it.
Oh yeah, and it makes sense for them thematically because it's always like somebody else is in charge at some point,
right? Or they just they almost always together because of circumstance, right? They're not like they all know each other, so they'd be like, when you got to do some wet work, someone, they ask Wolverine, he goes, I know a guy, and all of a sudden, Weapon X characters show up.
I actually think this guy would work pretty well with X-Force, which I know Nigel will love. I think he would be good because he gives you a good solid flank character. You can incinerate people with Cable and then just have this guy run around. The leadership is fine. It's not ideal, but it's fine. What if you do cat and mouse with Logan? Can he get to the middle and attack somebody in place?
Is that a small move?
It's a place 2, I think.
Why do we think he's going to be part of X-Force?
because his name's Wolverine.
Okay.
I'm not saying he is. I'm just thinking
Sure.
hypothetically.
You can not.
Okay.
You can barely do it with a medium move, and a 2 is a lot less than a medium move.
Okay. But you can medium move and attack anyone at range 3, right?
You have to be directly across from the point. In that case, yes.
Mhm.
If they are contesting the point and no terrain's in the way, you can medium
Right.
move and be range 3 from them.
Okay. All right. Any other news? All right. Do we have any new lists we want to talk about? Anybody build anything new currently playing? I think everyone's on the same stuff they've been playing.
Yeah, just getting ready for warfare.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go straight into our main topic today. We're going to try and get through as many of the leaders as we can. So this is going to be the lightning round. So we're going to not dwell on things as much, and we're going to go a little bit faster. Okay. Let's see, where did we leave off? Next up, we have Kingpin. I remember when this leadership first came out, and I was like, what the fuck were they thinking? All right. Illicit Network. Once per turn, anytime during an allied character's activation, it may spend 2 power to use this leadership ability, move 1 asset or civilian token being held by the active character to another allied character within 3. A character cannot hold more tokens they would normally be allowed to by the crisis. And then additionally, each healthy allied character contesting an objective token counts as 2 healthy characters for when determining who is securing objective token. Important rules distinctions. This does not work on the pay to flips because it doesn't matter that you are 2 people contesting them. When it comes to securing them, it's only for who is what's the term, Aaron?
Controlling.
Controlling? Is it just controlling?
Pay to flips is controlling. The other ones
Okay.
are securing.
Okay. So yeah, you can't use it on the pay to flips. So it really only works on researcher and then all the stand next to blues. All right. Aaron, why is this ability good?
It fundamentally changes a core concept and how the game is played.
Agreed. If you've never played against it, it's not very popular right now because a lot of the tactics cards he used to play got banned. But it is incredibly powerful. If your opponent builds a wide roster, it is almost impossible to stop them from just winning all the blues.
Turns out counting as 2 is a good thing.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how it works. Like, let's say you bring a 4-man roster and your opponent brings a 7, and you're like, I move a guy to the middle point, and they move a guy to the middle point. It's like, would you like to move another member of your squad to this point to still be just tying it? And you're like, oh, well, that's like half my army just to tie a point. And you're like, yes. And then I'll take the other 4. And really this one too, and then still have a guy left. And you're like, oh my God.
The most crazy thing about this, I was describing this to a newer player. We were talking about it, and he would say, "Why is everybody, so worried about Kingpin? Why you guys? I hear people talking about Kingpin." I go, "Well, you've never seen him like do his thing, which is I move up guys to. It's basically like playing checkers, right? You're just like I move up I move up 1 3-point character all the way to your side of the board. I score those unless you stop me by piling on one of them." And then the next turn, my very first move is just take that guy over that was on your point. He probably took some damage because you probably thought to hurt him. You thought that was the way the game was going to end. And I just move him all the way across the board to my side and then wait for all your guys to move and then move my healthy guys that I had on my side of the board over to your side. And now I'm scoring all of them again. So for the first 2 turns of the game, I just score all the points. I never attack you or do anything except double move. That's it. And you're like,
that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's extra fun.
Yeah.
But it's just all the fun is had by one player.
Right. It is. And when I was describing this to the new player, he was like, oh, Jesus. Like, I was like, yeah, that's right. There's just nothing you could do except maybe kill all the models, but you can't, there are backsides to all these models. So you can't just remove them on turn 1.
Yeah.
So
if you pull Scoundrels as your blue and you're playing against a wide Kingpin list, I think you still just lose unless you're very practiced against it. Mm-hmm. Even in today's meta with the tactics cards, like it is so abstract to play against. It is completely mind bending to try and put your brain through the mental hoops of like, all right, well, what's the board going to look like next turn? Because you're just not playing the same game everybody else is playing.
And that's exactly, it's not even a gotcha game. your opponent is playing a different game than you're playing.
Yeah.
And if you don't start playing it immediately, you've already lost. Like you've already lost. It would be it's so easy because how many players have a pretty rehearsed turn one, right? Fairly rehearsed. Like if you know your list pretty well, if you've been playing the game for a while, you're not a beginner, but you still know your list. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. I'm always going to do these things with these characters, with very, very, very low variability. But then when you play against Kingpin, all those things you just did, those things you've rehearsed, you just lost the game because you did them. Because Kingpin just moved 5 models. He just double moved 5 models and he wins. You're like, what?
I'm still firmly in the camp. This is the best leadership in the game. It's not even close. Because if we're just going to talk about Kingpin and we blank his leadership, he is a okay maybe 4-pointer, and there's like no real reason to play that list at all. It's the leadership will just turn a mediocre roster into a terrifying list. As where like even Daredevil, who has an amazing leadership, like you just turn a shooty fighty list into a better shooty fighty list. Like it's not like it's a percentage better.
Yes.
That's like a measurable amount. It's like 5 to 10% better than what it already was, which was a good list. And this turns basically hodgepodge garbage into like top tier, in my opinion. Because your only way to win the game is directly counter the leadership. You're fighting the leadership, and the rest of the cards he has are completely irrelevant. You're fighting that sentence on his card.
Aaron, I'm curious. Since you had the most experience with it, when they did the tactics cards reset and the phase out of some cards, I feel like you just kind of dropped them like a bag of bricks, and you didn't pick him up since. Do you think it is that difficult to win with him now, since the tactics cards changed, or is it also just kind of you're a little bit burnt out, you're just excited to do something new, and the tactics cards kind of give you a nudge to try something new?
So I dropped him like a hot potato because I thought he was very bad in current meta. I think now he is not as bad as I originally thought, but I don't think he's super good. So I played him competitively up until the tactics card change. And I had a good win rate, but oftentimes I won the turn I needed to before my entire army died, and I didn't score another point the rest of the game. So this list wins fast, and when it stops winning, it falls off a cliff. Like no other list you could ever play. Because as soon as your
definitely
say what?
Definitely an early game list, 100%. Like
yes.
you're just race carring them as fast as you can.
This is almost the definition of Rocky Balboa. I'm just going to take it on the chin, and I hope I don't pass out before I win. Except you're just sitting on points, winning them, hoping that they don't kill you fast enough so you can continue to score the points. That's all you're doing.
That's more like Floyd Mayweather, I think.
Sure.
I think
score all the points and then don't die. That's plan B.
So I was using field dressing and med pack to stay alive just long enough to win. And those cards were so crucial in so many of my victories that once they became rotated out, with nothing else to replace them but more violence, Kingpin does not like violence. So
we also never saw Kingpin with grunts, though, did we?
That was around same time.
Yeah, what happens when you put Nick Fury in a Kingpin list?
I wouldn't say Nick Fury. What about fuck Nick Fury? Red Skull, right?
Yes, because
Red Skull
would be
good. Yeah,
first grunts that can contest.
So I was thinking specifically Nick Fury because he helps you win the objective, the extract battle. But yeah, the Red Skull would also be good, but he's 5 points, so it takes up more of the list.
I mean, you were already playing.
But yeah, having an extra secure guy is big.
No, I actually think Red Skull's fantastic because he functionally works like a 3 and a 2-pointer, and he only counts as 1 for not being outside your affiliation. So I actually think he's much better than a 3 and a 2-pointer.
Yeah, but the point of the Kingpin list was to go basically as wide as you can. That way you had backups if people died.
Yes, but you could use only 2-pointers. So
so this puts basically 2 2-pointers into one model, and you still get 2 models. Because Nick Fury can still contest, and he can play Eye in the Sky.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still think Red Skull is stronger because the grunt is a guy you bring.
I'm not going to argue against it. Yeah, I think they're both good. I would be more afraid personally of Nick Fury. And now I believe that is correct because I just checked. Endless Legions is Hydra only. I'm less afraid of that now.
Yeah,
Because if you play Endless Legions and Kingpin, I would be like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Now, I guess people who had practiced into it, like take Scoundrels, right? I would love for them to do their normal thing and go onto the extracts and come to the middle. But practice players are just going to put 2 people on each of their back points.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can sacrifice a model that you will kill next turn just to tie, or I stay on my back points and hope to win on the extract game. So I don't think it's an auto win for Kingpin because there is play into it.
There's another funny thing about Kingpin's leadership is a lot of newer players look at Kingpin's leadership and go, oh, so I'm going to have an advantage in the objective game. And, criminals have some like bruisey guys. So I'll be a bruiser. I'll go fight people. And I have beaten Kingpin so many times because somebody decided to fight me. Because Kingpin does not play that game really well. Like the list does not.
You definitely have to sell out for it. It's not like I'm going to also do this thing. No, you're playing the Kingpin leadership list.
Right, and I've seen so many people like really dislike playing him because they're like, okay, I'll be like a bruisey, sneaky, dirty fighter. Like, no, you're not. You no. You literally double move. Any action you spend attacking is wrong. You should just double move. Just double move. And that is something that most people don't want to play, and so they pick up Kingpin and they put him right back down because they're like, wow, this guy seems so much worse than all the other versions of an attrition-based character. Like, yeah, because he doesn't do that at all. Even like Web Warriors, which are considered to be a very heavy scenario faction, can also beat people up when they choose to. Criminals really don't. They might get
they
lucky
can.
explosive. It's not.
It actively deters from their primary win condition.
Right.
Yeah. You're making a choice to sacrifice your win potential to fight people.
Right.
And sometimes you have to, and it's not really a choice because you're in a situation where it's the best way. But yeah, it directly conflicts with your strategy. It's kind of like Asgard for a long time where they had the I'll never give you power strategy. It's like, well, sometimes you're in a spot where you have to attack somebody. And it's going to hurt you in the long run, but you just got to do it.
I just convinced myself to play New Red Skull with Criminals and try that and see how terrible that is.
I was actually thinking that because I know we used to people tried putting Thanos with Kingpin as well, but when Thanos was like 9 points, it was less. It wasn't quite as easy. But he also used to be more broken, so I don't know. Anyway, so it's time to rate. We're gonna put him in Blitz, right?
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Shadowlands Daredevil, the other criminal leader. Shadow War. When an allied character attacks enemy characters holding or contesting objectives, it may reroll one of its attack dice. Leadership ability may reroll skulls. All right, well, this one's simpler. I guess we never even talked about the fact that Kingpin could move objectives around. It is a good ability. Like, it would be a subpar leadership on its own, but it is good. So just don't think we weren't thinking about it. We just knew what it did. Shadow War. There's not really any rules mechanics here. The only thing is you can't reroll against people that say you can't reroll. It's obviously good. This is like the most straightforward leadership in the entire game. I don't know what else to say. If you want to fight people, this is the guy.
Yeah, if you want to try and find out what Rapid Fire can do, take this guy.
Yeah, this guy dominated the meta for about 4 months, and then Malekith came out.
Then Malekith just eats the leader.
Well, also completely invalidates half their leadership because you just can't reroll against him.
Also,
and when you
go ahead. I was going to say, one of the things about Daredevil is when Daredevil got very popular, Black Order actually like rose in the metagame as well, because Black Order in general can also kill about as fast as these guys do, and they benefit so much from killing the grunt and the wide strategy. So I found that Black Order was one of the. It was a bloodbath when I played against them, but they had a really efficient game into these guys because they had the ability to kill me as quick as I could kill them with Shadowlands Daredevil, and I was giving them all the things they needed to get tons of power or victory points, and that was really hard to overcome.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have anything to say about this guy?
if you want to see small models like hit up really big, if that makes you satisfied, and it does for me. I love seeing small models do really big things. This is the leadership for that. I really enjoy seeing 2 and 3 pointers, just wreck things they have no business wrecking, because you have this reroll and you're surrounded by little guys. It feels great.
All right, so where are we thinking? Efficiency?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just makes everything better.
Yeah.
Yes. Specifically rapid fire and everything Park was talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. Next up, we have Dormammu.
Mammy.
Flames of the Faltine. If Dormammu is included in a squad, that squad is affiliated with Dark Dimension and must use this leadership ability. This character and each other character you control gains 1 additional power during the power phase. During the power phase, if another allied character, has 6 or more power, it suffers 1 damage. Yeah, this is basically what we thought Cap's leadership did. So now they just printed one that actually said do that. So yeah, this is very interesting. The big thing about it is that it automatically makes your list affiliated and chooses it for you. So you can play any collection of models, which is fun. So it's kind of a catch-all leader if you're just playing a big weird list with a bunch of like large elite models that don't really affiliate with anything. You can always just drop him in as the finishing piece to get a leadership at least. Having a lot of extra power on turn 1 is really cool. You can do a lot of weird, interesting shit. Like Ghost Rider can pick up 2 hammers on the first activation.
Yeah, this is like this. When you play him, you're playing like a puzzle box, because you're looking at every single model in the game and you're going, "Ooh, what kind of cool things could I do on turn 1?" And then you go, "Oh, what kind of things could I do on turn 2?" Like every character in the game gets these weird, like next level plays that they can do on turn 1 and turn 2. The trick is making sure that none of them have too much power and 1 health left, because that is a bitch.
Yeah. You definitely need to take characters that can dump power, because if you're playing a savvy opponent, you really do not want to end a turn with a bunch of power on you, because they'll just tap you down to 1 hit point and then let you go to power phase. You'll daze in the power phase, which means you don't get to activate this turn. And you can do that to multiple characters in a turn, and you basically just don't get a turn. It's so fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's one of the only leadership that can cause you to be time locked in this game.
Yeah.
It's really awful.
Especially if you're playing like cubes, and it's very easy.
Yeah.
Because you can be taking 2 or 3 damage in the power phase, and that's almost killing people anyway. It's brutal. So yeah, you need to be very careful if you want to play it. Don't just jam stuff together and hope for the best.
A new character that I haven't seen anybody put with Dormammu yet, but like one of those characters that can just use all of his power always, that I would be really curious to see is Heimdall. Because he'll always use his power always, and I think that's.
But he kind of wants to be sitting on power most of the time. I don't know. It might work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never bad, right? Heimdall's always good.
So Jeremy and I played against a very good Dormammu player down in Springfield, playing with Heimdall and the Howling Commandos.
Talking about Ryan.
Yeah. So he's porting Dormammu over the Commandos, and then Heimdall is porting him again. So basically, and then freaking Dormammu has a place too. So Dormammu can basically go from one corner of the board all the way to the other. You're like, mobility concerns? I don't think so.
Yeah, he's not a slow boy.
No. So that was a really, really well thought out list. And that wasn't it, right? I mean, it did other things too. But he was able to put Dormammu wherever he wanted, so Dormammu could just double tap every turn.
And then obviously having access to Heimdall rerolls potentially, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah, anybody that's going to be a good team player is going to give you so much, because a lot of those team player abilities, cost a lot of power. You have to, spend a lot to use them. But he just pours power into models.
Okay. So I think we talked about all the high points for Dormammu's leadership. I think this is one of the most unique leaderships in the game. It takes a lot of thought, but also you can just slam shit together and go. It's kind of weird. I think a lot of the drawing power of this leadership is obviously you get extra power, and there's almost no restrictions to it. And so it draws a lot of people to it, but I will say this is one of the hardest characters in the game to play. And because you have to ride that fine line of like when it's okay to engage with Dormammu and when you need to protect him and when you're going to get your own people killed because you're not paying attention.
So I might actually say this is the best leadership in the game if you take it off the model.
Oh, I don't think so.
Uh,
One extra power is good, but
This gives me wet dreams, man.
really?
Yes.
One extra power each is the line in the sand?
So the turn 1 plays with Dormammu are insane.
Sure.
So advanced R&D is restricted, right? This is basically free advanced R&D plus more extra power every turn of the game.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think if this leadership was on any of the other leaders, I think that leader would be at the top of the food chain or very near it.
I just put this barely above Inhumans leadership personally.
Yeah, that's what actually I was thinking. In terms of like enabling turn 1 stuff, Inhumans can do similar things. Not perfectly, but similar.
One of the toughest things to manage with this is like about turn 3, you start taking damage, and it'll be after your model's activated, so you won't be able to account for how much power's on your model and how much damage. It becomes very random. So you do find yourself getting models dazed when you weren't planning on it and getting time walked. Like they're just not on the board. It's very hard to manage. Like, and it's like,
I think it's actually surprisingly easy for your opponent to time walk you if they're paying attention.
yeah.
I almost try to get like a model in my list that can damage my own people. Like someone throws a size 1 into your guy or something. That way you're not losing the whole next round. Like you're already paying 8 points for a model that's clearly not worth 8 points attrition wise because you're paying points for the leadership because it is a good leadership. No one's arguing it's not awesome. Like everyone would be happy to have this as their leadership. But man, that there's one hell of a downside.
I mean,
if it was just +1 power flat out, I could kind of see where you're coming from, Aaron. Like the amount of shit you could do with just a little extra power every turn, it is good.
Well, that would just, it would be a complete upgrade to Steve with no downside, right? So,
well, it's not just an upgrade because some characters take advantage of it even better than the 1 extra power a turn, like Heimdall.
Okay.
Like Heimdall probably prints somewhere between 10 and 20 power every game.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And there's some characters that do that, like Steve does it, and like Steven, Doctor Strange can get up like a huge amount of free power.
So, and this is colored by my current thinking on the game, which is to
Sure.
try to gain an early turn 1/2 scenario lead, and then turns 2 through 4 are just sustaining that lead.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
a Dormammu-esque leadership goes a very long way towards establishing that lead. So,
But Aaron, this isn't even the best leadership that we've talked about tonight to do that. I just want Aaron to play Kingpin again. I actually don't, because I don't want to play against it. But he should play it again.
There's a non-zero chance I'll pick up Kingpin in the near future.
Mm-hmm. I think now that people are building actually these Malekith lists, actually Kingpin would be, I think, really good against them because they just don't have the number of attacks. Like, sure, Malekith will take out 2 of them. Like, that's almost guaranteed. But like, that means he has to wait till turn 3 to really get you down enough to where you can't really contest everything. And he has a low model count too.
I'll try it. I don't think Kingpin's going to be good in a Malekith, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay, let's figure out. I think Dormammu is a gimmick. I think.
I also think gimmick, but I could listen to Blitz because he's 100% early game leader. He dwindles late game. Like Dormammu, the model doesn't, but the leadership clearly does.
I think he's Blitz with a downside. If you're thinking about the fact that you take damage as the gimmick part, I think that's a negative, not core to the leadership.
I put any like early game shenanigans where you're like, my leadership just says I have a better turn 1 than you. I'm like, I think that's a gimmick.
Oh.
And I think that's primarily what the leadership does. But also that's kind of in the Blitz category.
I don't
so
see
I'm
them.
fine either way.
I don't see them
but
using
it's-
Blitz. I see them using worse like support type things with it. So
Yeah. Because that's the thing, like the list that people build, they aren't Blitz lists.
Well, I need to play
And
Dormammu then.
I think Right, I think Aaron is trying to build a blitz list, but I think really it's a gimmick. Anybody disagree with gimmick?
I only say gimmick for the whole of it, like the whole mess of everything. I think the
Yeah.
leadership in itself,
Like
though, is more of a
it
blitz.
breaks affiliation rules. It deals
Yeah.
damage to your own models.
It's
all that
wacky,
stuff,
it does
yeah.
stuff, but I do think
Yeah.
the actual quote-unquote, the words of the leadership, without all the other bullshit that happens throughout the game, is probably
The
blitz.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the benefit is a blitz, but there's two other components, yeah. You might even say the majority of it is just a bunch of bullshit.
It's true. There's a lot of
All right.
nonsense.
Moving on, we're going to drop him the gimmick for now. Moving on, we've got Dr. Stephen Strange,
OG.
the OG. Mystic Empowerment for Defenders. Once per turn, when an allied character declares an attack before choosing the target, they may spend 1 power. If it does, you may choose whether this attack is a physical, energy, or mystic attack, and if this attack deals damage, the target gains Hex. Rules clarification, you can choose the same damage type as it already has, which I've seen people not realize. Which the only reason you would want to do is so that you could apply Hex, but technically it's useful. Downsides, it's on a 5-point model. It costs a power to use. It's also only once per turn, and the upside is very minor.
So there are 4 downsides. First of all, it costs a power to use. Second of all, it costs a power to use. Third of all, it costs a power to use. Fourth of all, it costs a power to use that you might completely waste, not because you don't do damage, which is a possibility, but because your opponent does some weird shit like, Trickster, Eye in the Sky, Lifesaver, because you pay
Bodyguard.
before you target.
Bodyguard.
Yeah.
No, it's after targeting.
Oh, I thought you read before you target.
Oh no, it is before targeting. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. So you have to pay, like in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
beam. I'm going to
No,
pay for
it's
these
not
3
good.
people.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to Eye in the Sky, Trickster.
It's it's
You're
not
done.
good.
Oh my god.
So the real reason, right, that this exists is because there's some really powerful effects on defense, like vibranium armor, where you need desperately to get around the damage type, like martial artists, stuff like that. And so being able to just say this Helios laser is a mystic attack, you're like, oh, well, that's pretty fucking relevant. Like, so stuff like that is very important. It is very restricted though, and it has a lot of downsides.
They could change it to do away with the power cost and it'd probably be just fine. Once per turn.
I honestly thought they were going to rework him when they were doing the stones. Instead, they just reworked the stones, and so I could definitely live with a Doctor Strange rework. I think he's still heavily underrated. I think this guy actually has some legs. I think he doesn't see near enough play. But yeah, his leadership is not the reason he should see play. I play defenders leaderless commonly sometimes, and people are like, "Why don't you have a leader?" I'm like, "What does it matter?" And he's like, "Well, don't you need a leader?" I'm like, "No, you don't need a leader. That's completely made up. I'm just playing defenders because I like these cards." And you're like, like they can't comprehend it, right? Like they're like, "No, you have to play the leader." Like it's like, "No, you don't actually."
Wong drops portals on turn 2, and you're like, what is happening?
Wong plays portals, Hulk goes through portal, and you're like, what?
Excuse me?
All right. Let's put Doctor Strange in a category.
Do we have anti-efficiency?
Quality of life?
No.
Gets around buffs. It really just gets around buffs. That's all we're talking about, right?
So ideally, what his leadership is designed to do is what you said, which is a huge quality of life for your roster and squad construction, right? You don't have to put in Hood just because they have Panther.
It's just bad. Yeah,
Right.
It's just bad.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's
yeah.
quality of life because it unlocks some very small doors you might see sometimes. That's all it does.
Yeah. So we could either change a category to say support, because it's really a support leadership. But we've kind of been putting support stuff in the gimmick category. I don't know.
I think it's a quality of life thing because
I think quality of life.
when it happens, it is good. But it's such a it is literally blank text almost all the time. Almost every time you say I spend my action to attack, you will not use it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have Star-Lord winging it. During the power phase, choose up to 3 allied characters. Give each chosen character a winging it token. When a character with a winging it token is attacking, defending, or dodging, it may spend a winging it token during the modified dice step to reroll up to 2 of its dice. At the end of the round, remove all winging it tokens from characters. Only Guardian characters can have winging it tokens. Oh wait, no, that's what it's supposed to say.
I was like,
That's what it's
wait?
supposed to say. The last sentence was just in my brain. Like that's what it should say.
Why would it?
Okay.
Why should it say that?
Shut up.
Okay.
Moving on. So downsides. I don't know if there is a downside.
You can only
worked
do
really
3.
hard. They worked really hard to make this idiot proof.
Well,
You-
one of the things it can do is you can put it on somebody and they just get dazed. It doesn't do anything. Like,
I mean, you can use it on your defense roll if you know you're going to get dazed, but sometimes it doesn't matter.
right,
Yeah. So the downside is sometimes you can't reroll your dice, right?
right.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I rolled a bunch of skulls, or hey, I'm attacking Malekith, or hey, I'm being attacked by Venom.
Mhm.
Like, there's all kinds of stuff that stops rerolls nowadays.
So that there's that, but that is a
Yeah.
niche. That's not the
Yeah.
that's not the rule.
And this is not a game breaking leadership. It's
No.
good. Like 2 rerolls per round on 3 characters is just good. It's not even crazy. Like
Mhm.
it's just a very, very efficient leadership because it's just good. Like
The-
there's no downside. It just makes characters slightly better.
And
So
it is
think
just
about-
slightly, yeah.
Shadowland, how many rerolls do you get per turn on average with Shadowland's leadership? Parker, you
I
played it.
guess somewhere between 6 and 8.
Well,
I
it
thought it was
depends.
40 to 60.
Yeah, that's the
somewhere
idea.
there.
That's
600,000. Yeah.
That's why you play rapid fire models with them, because you want Shadowlands Daredevils
Yeah.
to be better than Guardians, right? So,
Yeah.
and the only way it happens is if your character is always attacking twice. So, like charging models, minimally rapid fire is better. So you're actually rerolling 4 dice a turn on your activations, unlike Star-Lord,
Yeah.
who's doing 2 on 3 models. That's it.
And so functionality wise, you want the opposite in Guardians. You want very, very elite models
Uh-huh.
to wash this ability through because their dice are generally better than random dickhead dice. And so criminals just want quantity over quality, so they just want random dickheads. So you just take everyone that's got pistols and shoot pistols at people and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And that's just a huge philosophical difference, but they do the same thing.
Right. Like
Um,
Juggernaut is a great Guardian of the Galaxy. Like, he loves winging it tokens because he's going to do his one big ass
Yeah.
attack and a bunch of other cool stuff. But that one big
Yeah.
ass attack is just better.
Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people take Angela because she's affiliated. Ghost Rider's another great choice. Because of the staticness of their own affiliation, they tend to take mobile models.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's straightforward. It's pretty easy. So this is clearly far and away efficiency. So I'm just going to put it in because you're just making things better. All right, next up we have Strucker. Oh boy, I cannot wait. I'm very happy. Hydra High Council. Affiliation. Hydra. Once per turn, after an attack made by an allied character is resolved, if the attack dealt damage, the allied character may use this leadership ability. Choose one special condition the allied character has. If the defending enemy character does not have the chosen condition, it gains it, and the allied character loses it. Additionally, once per turn, when an enemy character gains a special condition, the allied character that caused the effect may remove 1 damage from itself. This is super cool and fun and interactive. I like this a lot. This is one of my favorite model designs lately, just on a side note. There's a lot of moving parts here. They're very, very interesting.
One of the things about this model is this leadership is the very first thing people want to do is they go, oh, what kind of really great status effects can I make sure to do so my character can heal 1? You're like, well, even if like that's yeah, I guess you could, but really most characters come with status effects. That would just be a free
Yeah.
bonus. What's really cool is every time your opponent gives you 1, well, now you get it
Mhm.
back. That's really
Yeah.
the cool bit. That's
Fuck
the
you, dickhead.
right. That's the part that's really interesting about it, because if you like some people talk about playing Ronin with him, because every time you attack Ronin or one of his friends, he would judge you. So on his turn for 2 power, you're getting judged, and he heals 1, which is
Mhm.
it was just fun. But in order to do that, you're playing Ronin the Accuser, like a 5-point character who's not horrible, but you're just making like a gimmicky thing with his leadership. Why not instead just play like Honey Badger, because she's putting bleeds out there all the time, and she hates being things like stunned or incinerated, and so you're just putting those back on your opponent, and she's just a great character, so just go ahead and do that.
Venom is also great for that same thing, because
Yes.
they'll attack somebody, he'll lethal protector, then retaliate attack them back, which auto applies bleed, and then so Venom's healing 1 damage for free while attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Yeah,
all right.
All taunts are funny with this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So random rule stuff. Just make sure that you check the conditions on both characters first, because technically if you say a condition that your enemy has, there's no effect. So just keep track of that. I saw multiple people trying to figure out how to stagger their own models so that they could attack enemies and deal damage and transfer the stagger. I'm like, that's not how that works. You have to shake with stagger as part of your activation.
Oh, you can totally do it.
Yeah, you can gain stagger mid-activation and then give it to them, but that's the only way. It's
Not
very
true.
difficult.
Not true.
Not true? What do you mean not true?
I mean, there is another way.
Okay, hit
Hold
me
on.
with it.
Stand by.
Oh, where on the rules forum they say that actually you don't
Nope.
have to follow the rules. You can do
not
whatever
not
you
a
want.
rules forum.
Okay.
Hmm.
It's actually, it could just be anyone who attacks out of activation as well. Because, like, Venom, for example, could so many snacks and attack somebody while he's staggered and transfer the stagger over.
Green Goblin. If you play Green Goblin, if he is staggered at the beginning of his turn,
Oh, correct. Yeah. Because he has, what's the name of that ability? Nemesis?
Arch Nemesis Peter Parker.
Arch Nemesis, yeah. So Arch Nemesis trumps stagger.
It does.
Good lord.
And so he does not care if he's staggered as long as he's got his good buddy Peter Parker nearby. Same with Venom. So Venom could, in 2 different ways, transfer stagger with this leadership.
That's cute.
Now, it's probably never going to happen.
Watching this leadership being played is like watching craps at the casino.
Yeah.
All right, move this token over here, move this over here. Okay, double down. All right, place 2 there. Okay, got $1 back. It's insane. It's such a messy.
It's like
leadership.
watching Brandon Shelley try and keep track of his tokens. It's just like he picks up a token, he puts it down, and he goes, "God damn it! I'm going to spend this power," and he just like immediately starts getting mad, like throwing tokens around. Like that's what your opponent's like when they keep getting their own negative effects thrown back at them.
So I played against this leadership twice. Both times it has been relatively ineffectual, including today.
Mhm.
So I'm a little down on leadership, even though I initially agree with you, Brandon. I like the design a lot.
I don't know that it's hyper powerful or anything, but
Sure.
I think the design is really good.
I agree. I love the design.
Yeah.
But you're entirely dependent on, say, what models your opponent brings, as well as your health state, right? So you might be able to transfer something, but if you're sitting there in full health, you're only getting a partial benefit of the leadership.
Well, if I'm debuffing enemies and I'm at full health, I think that's first world problems. So not really too worried about that.
True. It happened to me 3 times today. He put 3 effects
That's
on
right.
me all game long
Yeah.
and healed
And
twice.
so
that's
part of that is because there's characters that do it, like that debuff your own people. And so it's just up to you to recognize that you need to bring them in certain matchups, and that's going to be a skill thing and a repetition thing, like knowing that your opponent knows you're playing Hydra, so they're going to actively avoid taking models that debuff you. So you need to bring models that debuff you, so it's just important to know. Also, you can play the missions that debuff you, like Terrigen and Mayor Fisk, and so you can get stun and stagger from the scenario and then stun and poison from the scenario, then hand those off to your opponent.
Well, if they're also stunned, it doesn't work. So
true. That's what he did.
Right, so if I have a model standing on the Mayor Fisk token, he gains stun and takes a damage, I can then either move away or just shoot somebody not standing on the same token.
mhm.
Oh, it's even better, like my opponent scores it, so I get to move it. I move it on top of my own model and another one of his models. And then I take a damage against stun. I go first next turn. I shoot the guy that originally scored it, who's no longer on the point, give him stun and remove my damage. It's like, oh. It's like awesome. I love it with those missions.
It is not nothing. However,
It's not
close
close. Because
to
now
nothing.
he needs to walk over here to contest the point again because he's no longer on the point, but suffered all the negative effects for being on the point.
right.
And so it just flips those on its head.
But
It's great.
I think to Aaron's point, which I agree with, that it sounds like you're like, if you get inside the theory box, you're like all these cool things you can do, and then you actually play a game, you're like, wow, I gave my opponent 3 conditions and I healed twice for 1.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's not worth my whole like strategy.
Right.
Like, I made sure my whole list does this, and that's what I got.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a downside. Obviously there's going to be a repetition and a skill and an experience thing where knowing where the line is and how deep you go and how deep you don't go and when to stop putting dumb gimmicky stuff in your list,
Right.
so that you can actually do things that are valuable instead of things that are fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of gas there. I mean, it's a 3-point leader. He's already good on his own, and I
Mhm.
think the leadership synergizes well with a lot of their models.
Oh yeah, and he himself is totally amazing for 3 points.
Okay, we spent way too long on this, so we're gonna move on. Category, I'm voting this is the first control leadership. The entire point is to put negative effects on your opponent's models.
So I'm going to take 30 seconds and disagree here.
Oh my god.
So I don't think that's the point of the leadership. I think the best thing the leadership does is it makes your team quasi-immune to what your opponent is potentially trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if your opponent's not putting out stuff, it's kind of useless. But if your opponent's
Well-
like, yeah, I'm going to judge you and I'm going to hex you and I'm going to do this, you're like, 2 big middle fingers because now all
But-
that shit's on
But
you.
Aaron,
Yeah.
that is control. You're forcing your opponent not to debuff you. That's
You can't
literally
force them
control.
because a lot of that is required. You don't get to choose to debuff or not.
Yeah.
It's on the attack.
So by me taking Strucker in my roster, having that leadership available is going to affect the way my opponent is playing the game, which is control.
Ooh. Maybe. I'm thinking more quality of life. Like, I never have a status effect because I am
But you
effectively
only-
immune to stun or hex or incinerate.
But even so, like his own mechanics will guarantee that you can put negative effects on people. It's up to you to use the ability. Like the whole point of it is to debuff opponents. Like that's control. By definition. If you're going to argue that it's efficiency because you heal some damage, I'm going to push back pretty hard on that.
I would say quality of life to make sure that your
Yeah.
entire army
Quality of life, sorry.
has
yeah.
no effects on you.
That's what I meant.
Okay. I just wanted to state my case. Now I'm done.
What do you guys think?
I think it's 100% quality of life bit.
You fucking asshole. Changing Parker's name on Discord to
I've
Judas.
honestly never felt when I play against it, I never feel like they control anything to me. Like I don't give a shit. Like it's just a little bit of like a
Are you
little
playing
bit of
Parker games? You playing
No,
real games?
I
over
just
there.
feel like it
You're
feels
like,
like
hey, have you ever played Marvel Crisis Protocol before? Can I give you a demo? And they're like, guys, I won again this
that's
week.
a whole other thing.
Like-
But playing against Strucker, that whole army feels like I'm kind of climbing through like a little bit of fence. Like I'm like, okay, there's a little fence in my way here. This is obnoxious, but it's not really controlling that much when you're just, can I kill your guy? Cool. What I want to see is that mirror match where Strucker has to play Strucker. That's hilarious.
No, but then you just teach them the real master of Hydra is Red Skull.
But I don't think it's control, but I like your point.
So you're voting quality of life?
Yes.
All right. So 3 bad votes and then 1.
Go ahead and write down whatever you want. I know how this works.
I put it over there under protest.
Asterisk.
So when I made this list, Red Skull 2 was not on it, so Red Skull 2 is going to be later. Because he wasn't out when we made the list. Next up is Black Bolt. I'm not sure how many more of these we'll do. I'll let you know when we're stopping. We're not going to finish tonight. King of the Inhumans. During each of your turns, one allied character may spend 1 power at any time. If it does, choose an allied character within 3 of it. The character gains the power. Yeah, this is not overly complex. Important to note that you don't need to activate any models to use this leadership, because it's just during your turn. It's not the character that's activating's turn. It's just on your turn. So you can move a power and pass, just like playing tactics cards.
I think this is 100% an early game thing, kind of like Dormammu's. We've alluded to that earlier. If you are not playing a character that will use the extra 1 to 2 power on turn 1 to some really great early game effect, you should be playing a different faction.
Yeah.
So like
So-
Black Cat, Winter Soldier, like any of these guys that shouldn't have power on turn 1.
Yeah. Characters are balanced around not being able to use their fucking abilities on the first turn.
Right. As soon as you put them in your list, all of a sudden you're like, wow, Black Bolts and Inhumans is great. If you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm going to play a bunch of Inhumans characters, you're like, you will lose because they don't do anything with that.
Okay, so do you think that puts them into a blitz role or a quality of life role?
100% blitz, I think.
Because I know that the concept was kind of intended to be quality of life. Like, you're
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I can always just get the power where I need it. But it's not, because it doesn't generate power. It only moves it around. And so it's up to you to utilize it in the most efficient ways as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So you're basically just gathering up all your resources into a big pile and then just spending them on your best thing every turn.
Mhm.
And I know that's not exactly how it works out. There's obviously a lot more nuance to it, but that's basically what you're doing.
Yeah, I have never wanted to play hard on turn 5 while I play Inhumans. I want the game
Mhm.
to be more or less over by turn 4.
Okay. Anybody voting against Blitz?
Nope. Blitz it is.
The Blitz has it. Blitz and Jits! Alright, moving on. We have Balade. I'm surprised you never tried that to get around your probationary episodes, Parker.
That is surely I would have
You
gotten
didn't say
caught.
Blade.
No way.
Balade.
No way would that work. If I tried that, I would be shot down so fast.
Well, it's important that you didn't, because one of the secret words was Balade.
God.
All right, moving on. Bump in the Night, a Midnight Suns affiliation. Once per turn, at any time during an allied character's activation, it may spend 1 power. If it does, place that character within 1 of its current location. This leadership is awesome. That's all I have to say about it.
I am not disagreeing with you.
It's very, very good. I'm not exactly sure why it's not doing better than it does, aside from
I know that
I don't know.
there was a crazy statistic, like 90% of games that Blade dies in, you lose. Like, it was absolutely absurd. Basically, if Blade lives through the game, you win, and if Blade dies, you lose. That was the way the game worked.
I
so-
100% believe that.
Yeah, it works that way crazy often. They were really popular around Adepticon time, like in April. And then, because they're kind of like, this is obviously like a win fast faction. They run in, they try and fight you as hard as they can. And if you don't kill them by turn 3, you basically lose, because all their models they're taking are really good brawlers. It was like Ghost Rider, this guy, Moon Knight, Luke Cage. I know a lot of people were taking stuff like Hulk. Just really big, efficient models.
There's a current push to try to make them a scenario faction in the meta.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Using Bump to go up on scenario, steal extracts, and or leverage attrition to deny extract play.
That'd be interesting. All right. Blitz?
I don't know.
I mean,
Think it's more quality of life, being able to position yourself. It's
Yeah.
essentially a half action every turn for the cost of 1
Yeah.
power.
I'm definitely on board with quality of life. I only say Blitz just because the playstyle it kind of lends you to. Yeah, I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I think
Anybody against quality of life?
I think it's quality of life, but it's really strong quality of life. It lets you
Yeah.
undo your opponent's control. It lets you get proactive with something that they didn't see. It's
There's
pretty
so many times that you just naturally position to be out of range of something and
Mhm.
don't calculate for the extra 2 inches
Yeah.
that they get off of bump, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't believe I forgot. And then so it's like, oh, I'm just gonna move to here because Blade's not in range 3, so I'm safe. And then you're like, bump Knight of the Dampier, move medium, and you're like, oh my god, and like everything starts all over again. And like, Ghost Rider is moving 4 inches off of a bump, and he's got a 6-inch melee range. So Ghost Rider can be 10 inches away and hit you with Chains of Damnation. And then you're like, okay.
The one time I played this faction, I played it with MODOK. It felt so stupid.
Yeah.
MODOK with bump is so dumb.
So mobile.
I hate forgetting shit in this game.
Yeah.
That's why I
And
lost
Bump's
today.
so
but-
weird. Yeah. Bump is so weird. Like it's because it's like their faction identity, but it's so abstract that you don't think about it. It's weird. It might just be my experience because I've only played against them like 3 times ever. I think all 3 of them were Preston.
No, it's just because you have an understanding of you're here. Every
Yeah.
character in the game has 2 actions, right?
Yeah.
And you know what the characters can do, but you forget
Right.
other stuff like the leadership. So you're like,
Right,
okay,
like I look
move
at-
medium, range 3. You
Yeah.
can hit me once, great.
I look at Ghost Rider. I'm like, well, I know what Ghost Rider does, and then he teleports. I'm like, Ghost Rider doesn't do that. Like, what the fuck is happening?
No, I lost today because I forgot my opponent had played Occult Research.
Ooh,
Yeah,
oops.
bad news.
I told you that card was good.
It's not, but
It's very good.
if your
You're
opponent
correct.
forgets you played it.
You're right. It's not good. It's very good. All right. So Balade is gonna fall into quality of life. That's what we said.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I think we're gonna call it there. We can do the rest of them next time. Aaron, we might not do that topic we talked about earlier until the week after next week, unless you think it's time sensitive. It's probably time sensitive. We'll probably do that
Yeah.
next week. So we'll probably target finishing up leaders 2 weeks from today, which will be after Warfare, the week of Warfare. All right. We might try and find time to record a bonus episode so we can release it while we're at Warfare. Maybe. We'll see.
Did you mention what we're also doing at Warfare yet? We've got a surprise. Well, I mean,
You got a fucking
it was
mouse in
really
your
cool that he
pocket?
said. It's really cool that he said he would do it. So, if anyone goes up to Omnis and mentions our
yeah.
podcast, he
Oh,
will
yeah.
give them a free Infamous T-shirt.
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot we were doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's gonna be a good time. I can't believe he offered to donate all the shirts.
it's really nice of him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Charles is a very good guy for sure.
Friend
Yeah,
of,
high
longtime
five.
friend of the show.
That and all the Guernsey, they'll be there too.
Mhm.
We'll get them a shirt.
I mean, the Guernsey crowd always shows up to cons.
hmm
All right, Parker, do you have a comic corner for us?
Oh yeah. So in honor of Logan the Wolverine, I actually have one of the coolest Marvel Universe, kind of like what do I call it, like a B story. One of the things that Marvel likes to do sometimes is take some of their characters, some of their beloved IPs, and then just take them way out of like current storylines and just place the characters in another setting. They did this with their they did ancient settings, they've done like Greek settings, they've done the one I want to talk about today, which is a samurai setting. So it takes place right after the Battle of Sekigahara in the year 1600 in Japan. And the name of this graphic novel is Five Ronin. And so it follows, it's a self contained story that follows 5 different Marvel characters kind of reimagined to be if they were 5 different Ronin, the wandering samurai. And so they are Wolverine, the Hulk, the Punisher, Psylocke, and Deadpool. And so each one of them was, had this, this giant chip on their shoulder. Somebody had wronged them, or they were running away from demons. And how are they coping with a world now relatively at peace after the Battle of Sekigahara? But they're all, warriors of different types. And all their stories kind of weave together, and they kind of culminates at the end. My favorite one by far is the Wolverine character, because none of them are mutants, none of them are super powered. They're all just exceptional people. So how do you write a samurai that's supposed to heal himself and come back from the dead, as Wolverine is off to do? How do you create that in this one? I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the creative solution they come up with, the writers in this one. I'm sorry, I almost forgot to mention who it is. I'm going to find it real fast. It was Peter Milligan. So what Peter Milligan comes up with as how do you make a healing factor samurai without using magic or science fiction. It's really, really cool. And the Hulk character is great. The Punisher character is exactly what you think of, because at the time, 1600s, that was when they introduced the arquebus, the proto firearms in Japan, and so of course he uses those. Psylocke's like a geisha assassin, and Deadpool is like an intense PTSD sufferer, and he's lost his mind basically completely, and his character is fantastic. He's kind of the character that ties all the stories together, and the last story is his. So if you want to read something, if you like taking kind of side paths where some of these beloved characters get to do things, and of course, I think Wolverine has a Ronin background, right? He was once a samurai, as part of his past life. Every time he's lived for so long. One of his lifetimes that he lived, he was living in Japan as a samurai, and so this kind of takes this literally. Instead of making Wolverine the mutant in ancient Japan, it's this other character like Wolverine in ancient Japan, but heavily themed off of him. It's pretty cool. If you like this kind of stuff, you'll really like 5 Ronin. I recommend it. It's a good read, short and like to the point. It's the whole story you get with the one graphic novel.
Cool. So is it very similar to like TMNT 3 Turtles in Time?
Oh, you know what? I think that may have been the original.
That was the source.
Yeah, the original source for it. They thought, how could we do Wolverine only like TMNT 3?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And just Jeremy on Discord.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to The Gang Catches a Cold.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
I fucking did it, guys. I did it.
I'm so proud of you.
God damn.
That was the best one you've ever done.
I know.
Just when I thought I couldn't do it, and you guys are like, you can do it, little buddy, I was like, fuck,
That's
watch me go.
Definitely not what I said.
I was going
like,
to
"He
say,
can't do
I
it,
don't
guys."
think I could ever call you little buddy. I don't think I could.
You
ever
sons
do
of
that.
bitches.
I've called Jeremy Little Buddy multiple times.
With the lights on or off?
Both. Usually on. So in the spirit of our NFL corner that we were going to start doing, Jeremy, I have a brain teaser for you. Are you ready for this?
Good lord, probably not.
Since
but go.
the AFL NFL merger, which was in 1970, so in the last 52 years.
Okay.
How many games has a team only scored safeties? Which means their entire point total at the end of the game was derived of 2-point safeties only.
Oh my god.
How many times has that happened?
In the history of the last 50-something. Once.
It's higher.
Really? All right. 5?
Aaron is holding up 6.
6?
That's my guess.
Did you Google it?
No.
Ooh. Parker, do you venture a guess?
3.
Aaron was closest. It was 7.
Holy
Good guess.
fuck.
7 times a team has scored nothing but safeties.
How many
boy.
times have they scored more than one safety in a game, though? I'm betting it's 1. I bet it's 6 singles and 1 double.
Were they wearing like leather helmets when this happened? Like, was it one of those?
So this was this is 1970, like when post Super Bowl,
Yeah,
the Super Bowls were happening before they started counting that number.
that's crazy.
How about this? The Chiefs had a Super Bowl before they started counting that number.
Huh. Yeah.
How many times has a team scored multiple safeties? Oh, Aaron. In October 29th, 1978, the Baltimore Colts lost to the Miami Dolphins 26-8.
What?
To 8.
4 safeties?
4 safeties.
Holy shit.
Oh boy.
How good, like, what is that, the
Their
most, like,
defense was
offensive,
pissed.
defensive, like, They need to combine those two teams. They would have had an excellent team.
They would have been real good. Just, oh my God, how good. Well, actually, I mean, their defense actually wasn't incredible. They must, because back in the day, obviously, like, special teams was not as down to a science as is today. And they made special teams much easier to play in today's NFL because of all the rules about how and when you can block people. Like, it used to be back in the day, it was basically just Red Rover with helmets. Like, you would just go sprinting as fast as you can into other people sprinting as fast as they could.
Yep.
And people would just get exploded.
Yep.
Which is why they wouldn't let good players, like, play special teams. Like, it was like they would just not let you on the field. That's crazy, though. I have to check this game. This looks absolutely insane. Because they still gave up 26 points despite getting safeties.
Maybe I'm just spoiled by the Chiefs or whatever, but you just never see that happen.
Oh, I mean, like, the defensive era definitely, like, because it was just so different. Like, you could just tackle receivers. There was really no defensive pass interference in the 70s.
Yeah.
And the reason it's the way it is today is because of the Seahawks. Because the rules for pass interference existed back in the 90s and the early 2000s when the Seahawks were going, but they were not heavily enforced. It was kind of like roughing the passer. They only called it when it was egregious. And they didn't want to slow the game down. And so even if they saw it a lot, they would only call it some of the time to get the other team to stop doing it. And
Gotcha.
so the Seahawks game plan when they beat the Denver Broncos that year, when they had the Legion of Boom and all that, they literally just coached them to hold every receiver on every play. And they're like, they'll only call it like 4 times a game, and we'll just get free wins. And that's literally what happened. The next year, they changed the way the rule was officiated because they were just taking advantage of the rule, which is the only reason they won that fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah, because he couldn't even pass the ball because there was nobody ever open kind of deal.
Right, yeah, it was the year Peyton Manning should have won his 3rd Super Bowl, well, 2nd at the time. But yeah, they were literally just grabbing and holding and tackling early. They were hitting early. Like, they were all good players, but they were also heavily abusing the way the officiating was done back then.
Oh, I see.
It's kind of like as long as you aren't the first, like, a lot of guys will, like, start, like, you know, stuff on the field, and as long as you're not the one who retaliates, you almost never get flagged for, like, unsportsmanlike conduct. So, like, there's a lot of pushing and shoving that happens after plays, but it's always the guy who retaliates that gets the flag. It's never the guy who starts it that gets the flag, and so, like, they'll try and bait people into retaliation by getting them, like, trash talking them until they get really upset and then shoving them, and then the guy blows up on them and then they get the 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And then sometimes Myles Garrett rips your helmet off and tries to beat you to death on the field, and so then you heavily regret it.
You heavily regret it.
Sometimes you go too far. You never know.
You poke the bear one too many times, and it's over.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I started Googling how many quarterbacks have been safetied multiple times in a season because I was curious if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to break the record this year because he keeps getting safetied every week.
Does he?
He safetied himself last week. He walked out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah,
he
I
didn't
saw
realize
that.
where he was, and then this week we sacked him in the end zone.
Got it.
So he's back-to-back safeties right now. See if it continues. So the San Francisco 49ers were the number 1 defense going into the game.
Uh-huh.
Going out of the game, do you know what rank their defense is in?
5th.
13th.
Ooh! Talk about
I
getting...
love that. I love that stat.
They got smashed into the pile.
Yeah. People are talking all night like, how does that even happen? How do you go from 1st to 13th after one game? That's so brutal. Well, the answer is because there's a lot of good defenses this year, and they're all just stacked right next to each other.
Yeah.
Like they're all trading first place back and forth every week because it's little minuscule changes.
I was like, weren't they pretty hurt? Wait, we were pretty hurt.
Yeah, they surprisingly got healthy right before the game, or they had a lot of guys playing injured, which is more likely. But yeah. I normally like end of or late season buys, but I'm kind of happy the Chiefs aren't playing this week, so I can kind of take a break
Yeah.
Kind of need some days off during the weekends coming up. I didn't realize that next weekend is Warfare already.
Yup.
It just sneaks up on you. Who all is going? Aaron, Perrin, me, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool kids.
Cool kids. Are we all carpooling?
No, I'm taking my friend from Atlanta.
I feel like Atlanta is not on your way from your house to Warfare.
No, he's flying in.
He's flying to Kansas City, and then you're driving to St. Louis?
Yeah, he's flying in a day early. So he's hanging out and see the kids and stuff. He's the godfather of my kids.
Oh, okay. I was like, why don't you just drive to St. Louis a day early and meet him there?
He's
So
gonna
if you
fly
see your
out from
kids-
St. Louis. Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
he knows my family and stuff. So,
Okay,
but
cool.
how? I'm trying to think. I don't know where you live exactly now, but I mean, if you were cruising by this direction, you could definitely carpool with me. But I'm not going outside of going there.
No, yeah, like you're on the way, so I would just go to your house.
Yeah, if you want to, that's fine. I got plenty of room, I think.
Okay.
And I mean, we're both heading back early for the game, so that's fine.
That's why I was actually thinking
Yeah.
I would bring my car and just have my car loaded with the game stuff. And then I'll park it at your place,
Yep.
and we'll just go from your place to the game.
That would be fine. Yeah, it'd be me, you, and John.
Yeah. Is he going to the game?
No, John's
Okay.
going back to.
You
he's-
meant you meant on the way there, not on the way back. I see.
Yes, he was. He's not with me on the way back.
I was like, I mean, he's welcome to come,
No, he's not going to the game.
but he needs a ticket.
That's gonna be a long ass day. Ugh. I guess it's not gonna be too bad. What time is that game on Sunday?
It's a night game.
Oh well, hell, that's not gonna be bad at all.
No, it's really not. We won't even have to leave until like noon to still get the tailgate.
Yeah.
It'll be actually kind of nice because we'll just relax in the parking lot.
Wait, there's a game in the same weekend as Warfare, and you guys are gonna do both?
Yeah. Yeah, it starts at 7:20. It's a 4-hour drive from St. Louis. So if we leave at noon, we'll get back with 3 hours of tailgating. Probably get into the stadium, get tailgate for 2 hours.
Hmm.
Or we can leave at like 10 and get 4 hours of tailgating.
Just have to see how we feel about
And it's a Titans game, so we get to like fucking smash them.
it. Beat him like the 49ers.
Hmm.
Awesome.
I was on my drive home today. I was contemplating my Chiefs fandom and like how easygoing it is. I used to be so stressed all the time during football season, and it's not like I never expect us to lose. Clearly, we're gonna lose some games, and that's fine. But like, man, there was some years there where it's like it majorly affected my mood because we were a bad team when we like the Todd Haley years, and it was just
Yeah, that's tough.
frustrating. And so I know that some teams are in that position currently. I know, God, it sucks because you're so emotionally invested in your team.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there was the Andy Reid years where it wasn't dark anymore. It was happy, but still stressful because we were always trying to get over the hump, and we were so close, and so we were always believing, and it was just letting down. And then, God, we got Pat, and it's just like, okay, well now it's just like Rainbow Christmas Land every week, and it's like like the worst week you could possibly have is still a fun week. Like
It's like we lost a game. We're still 5-2. It's like, okay. It's fine.
I don't know if you've actually heard. I actually assumed you had heard this stat. And this is the last one I'm going to do. We can get off football, but the number one quarterback win percentage of all time is Patrick Mahomes. Still early in his career, obviously.
Yeah.
With Patrick Mahomes. Number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. Makes sense. Can you guess who is number 3?
Yeah, I listened to the podcast, the one that Kelsey's talked about it.
Okay. So, Parker, do you want to guess?
Say again. Who's number 3? What?
Number 3 winning percentage as a QB all time. Number 1 is Pat. Number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. Who's number 3?
Winning percentage. This is hard because you got to think like who actually wins throughout the season, not like who has championships and stuff.
Right. Game wins. Just throw it out there.
I would say like Joe Montana. I'll just put it out there. See.
Okay.
See.
Good guess.
Mhm.
It's actually Pat when down by 10.
Nice.
There's only one QB better than Pat down by 10, and it's Aaron Rodgers. And regular Pat. Not spotting the enemy team 10 points.
That's funny.
Also, shout out if you enjoy football and you listen to podcasts, you need to be listening to the Kelsey podcast. That is amazing.
Yeah, the Kelsey brothers have a podcast called New Heights. It's
So
Jason
good.
Kelsey, the Eagles center, and Travis Kelsey, the Kansas City tight end. And they're brothers, and so they obviously have great chemistry. And it's a lot like this. They basically just constantly troll each other and make jokes about football. It's super fun to listen to. They don't even get too crunchy about football. So
Not at all.
even if you're-
Not really.
Even if you're not a sports fan, it's just like basically current events.
You got Fat Boy Lineman, and you've got Show Off.
And yeah, half
Yeah.
the shit they talk about isn't even football related.
Yeah, it's really cool, kind of seeing an insight and their mentality of the game and how serious.
I love
or
when
not
they're
serious.
talking like childhood stories when they used to get into fights. He's like, yeah, so like we were playing catch or something, and like you threw the ball at me too hard, and you just walked inside like it wasn't a big deal. I just walked inside and punched you square in the face, which in hindsight might have been a little aggressive. And so then you picked me up and power bombed me on the kitchen floor. And it's just like, and then my dad came running in, tried to break it up, and then we rolled over on him. He started screaming because we thought we broke his ribs or something. And it's just like, what the hell? It's definitely a rowdy bunch.
It's very entertaining.
Okay, off football topics.
Moving on. So, I went and saw Black Adam.
Oh,
I will give it a strong B-, which for me,
B-.
for DC movies, that's like an A+ in the world of like
Yeah.
for DC movies, that's an A+.
I mean, it's basically what if The Rock was Superman, right? Like that's not like the actor, like literally The Rock, his persona.
If a wrestler,
Yeah. It's like Hancock, but instead of Will Smith's alter ego, it's just The Rock's alter ego.
no, it's fun. It's fun. That's all really is to it. It's fun. Like it's just
Yeah.
it has all the DC slow motion effects in that kind of weird style that DC tends to do for no fucking reason. And my kids go, wasn't really much of a storyline. And I'm like, I know.
How old are your boys?
They're 10.
Okay.
They're like, there wasn't much
Like,
of a
welcome to the
storyline."
DC universe, boys.
And I was like, yeah, but Dr. Fate was really cool. And they're like, yeah, he was cool. Like,
Yeah.
there's just stuff that's cool about it. And that's really it. Like I say,
Yeah.
it's like a B-. It's an action
They really
movie.
just need to lean into their lane and just have like eye candy and just move on. Like quit trying so hard because you're just making it worse.
And they're straight up, like, there's characters that were in the other ones now. So they're linking them all together Marvel style. And I'm like, what's the fucking point? Like, they're so thin. The characters are so thin. You don't give a shit about none of them. Like,
Well, I was telling Parker this at the game store the other day. I've been watching the Harley Quinn animated show on HBO, which, by the way, if you don't watch, that show is straight gold.
is
Like,
it
is
good?
the best thing
That show is
DC
amazing.
has ever done in any aspect.
Really?
in my opinion.
Let's be
It
fair.
is so good.
Let's be fair though. It doesn't matter what skin is on there. I ignore
Yeah.
the DC skin. It's actually because it does.
Right.
They don't really.
It's actually just a really well written show that
Yes.
takes place in a joke version of the DC universe.
yes,
Which is why it's good, because it pokes fun at itself constantly.
constantly.
And they address the issues. And like, yeah, we know this is a paper thin character.
Yeah.
They joke about it. It's like, you have no personality. You're just a dry, boring talking person. In 2 episodes, they have done more character development for Bruce Wayne than the entire history of the Bruce Wayne character combined.
Is it a brand
It's
new
a-
show?
It's
No.
season 3
Oh,
of
okay,
an animated
okay.
show. Yeah, it's newer. But yeah, it's voiced by the girl from Big Bang Theory, Kaylee Kuko.
Yeah.
I don't know who voices Ivy, but she does a really good job. And whoever voices Bane needs to win like 9 Emmys
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh.
Oh, really?
Bane,
Bane is the best.
I am nearly crying laughing every time Bane is on screen.
Oh, Lord.
He's so funny because they combine the old animated show Bane with the Chris Nolan Bane.
Oh,
and
God.
it's amazing.
Nice.
It's so good.
What did
Yeah,
you
he's
watch? Like, speaking of things that DC did well, that just must be 2 continents of thought. Like, because Did you see the Teen Titans Go movie?
I didn't know they made a movie.
It's hilarious. It is
Okay.
super, super funny and smart
Okay.
and witty. And like, I like bought it. Like I own it because it's just so cool. I mean, yeah, like so much of it is garbage. Like Black Adam as a movie, I'll never watch it again unless my kids watch it. Like, not
Mhm.
worth a second watch. It's interesting and fun for one time. You know, it's like, but done.
It's like if you had done like is it the Nolan Justice League? Who made the Snyder cut of
Uh-huh.
Justice League, but also edited out all the story and just watch all the fight scenes.
Yeah,
Like
pretty much.
it'd probably be fine. But
And
because
they're-
it's 4 hours and not
Yeah.
2 hours, it's such a hard watch.
And there's a kernel of story in Black Adam, just enough to go,
Mm-hmm.
okay. But the characters, it doesn't make any sense why everybody shows up. Like, who gives a shit?
Mhm.
Like, Hawkman, really? Like, I don't, okay. None of it. Like, if I hadn't played so much Injustice 2, that fighting game,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known who any of those dudes were. But it just
Yeah.
happened, I did.
Jeremy, you should really try it. Just watch the first episode of Harley Quinn.
Oh, I totally will. I'm always into something interesting. Like,
It's
Will you
all-
watch it by next week, though? I want to talk about it next week.
yeah, I'll watch it.
It's
Homework.
also the whole thing. It's also exactly your style. The very,
Yeah,
very irreverent, very in your face, joke. It's good.
Yeah.
Is it
so
adult
did-
style or is it just silly?
Oh, very adult.
It is
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
young,
100%
young
adult.
adult at minimum. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, if
your kids probably wouldn't get it.
If you, in fact,
Well, I
yeah,
mean, Rick
if
and
you
Morty
weren't-
or, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Okay.
It's actually, I think it's more highbrow than even like Rick and Morty style.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, because
Now, I
it-
think Rick and Morty is better, but it is
Yeah.
in that same genre.
Okay.
It's in the area.
I'll watch
you
it.
could
I'll
not,
watch it.
you could not
for
think
sure.
this is funny unless you're an adult. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many jokes only make
Uh-huh.
are fun.
It's very clever. I got it.
Well, also the context, like the Bane. One of Bane's funniest bit is every day he goes to Starbucks and he gets a latte, and the Joker pays the guy who works at Latte to write "bang" on his cup instead of "bang." He goes, "Latte
He
for
gets-
bang," and he goes, "You know my name, Todd." I come here every day. He goes, "Whatever, bang." He gets to it, he goes,
And so then he goes back to the Legion of Doom and tries to requisition a bazooka to blow up the Starbucks.
Yeah.
And they won't give it to him because Joker's in charge of the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
it's like the long troll. And he's like, I shall get my vengeance.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
It doesn't matter what my name is. What matters is my plan. And my plan is to ruin this Starbucks. It's
Yeah, I dig that.
It's-
I'll watch it.
It's Aaron, you should give it a shot too. Is it on your list?
It is now.
He's
We
ready.
do know that his list includes a garbage scale, so
Yeah.
my B minus might be an
This
F.
gets a negative 17.3/5. And you're like, what? He's like, yeah, it's a 4. Why didn't you say 4 then?
What service is it on?
HBO Max.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
Jeremy will give you his login.
Then it might happen.
I'm not giving the world my login.
I'll give it out on air.
God damn it!
Mistakes were made.
I also finally watched a good horror movie last night. If you're into horror movies,
Ooh, can I guess?
go ahead.
Blair Witch Project.
Ooh, no,
what a weird
no,
game.
brand new on HBO as well. Barbarian, very good.
Hmm. It's a horror movie called Barbarian.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it just came out. It has tons of people in it, you know, and it is a very interesting in like the whole time you're going, oh my God, no way, don't do that. No. I mean, you're like, it's classic horror where you're like, don't do that. And just kind of constantly like shaking your head going, nope.
like you're just like, I would just run into like it's like
Yeah.
like my house, the house I bought is haunted, so now I don't own a house. Like that would be
Yes.
like I've now moved to Amsterdam and I don't
Oh,
own
yeah.
the house anymore. Like, but they decide to live there and fight out the ghosts, and you're like, what?
Basically, yeah.
Excuse me.
A lot of like, nope. You fucking
It's
kidding
like,
me.
it's like, yeah, so I just bought this house and this weird girl climbed out of a mirror. It's like, so now I have fire insurance on my house. And I dropped a lot of rags in a trash can, air quotes, and then the house blew up. Now I have insurance money to buy a new house.
Exactly. Yeah, the name of it is
Okay.
real weird. It's very strange, but once you watch it, it all makes sense. It's good.
I think
Yeah, I'm just
I think that horror movies have run out of all of these single noun titles. Like when The Thing was like an interesting title. I think that's
That's
like
two
the beginning
words.
of the end. It doesn't matter. Articles don't count. The point is like now the horror movies, part of the genre is they always use like really clippy,
Grudge,
yeah,
The Ring,
Alien,
Insidious,
Insidious, they use very very simple to keep it
Paranormal
really short.
Activity,
Right.
Chud.
The House on the Hill.
Human Centipede.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Really, I guess what I'm saying is, you never see like horror movie by Sapphire. Like that's not like the full titles it's gonna be. I'm excited. I'm excited to see like how far away the names will get from the content of the horror movie. Like Barbarian seems a little odd, right? Like I'm guessing it's not a barbarian is not featured in the movie. Right?
Yep. You're incorrect.
Oh, there is a barbarian
Yeah.
in the movie.
Arnold shows up, and that's when it gets scary.
Is it?
Stop spoiling
Conan?
the horror movie.
Yeah.
It's like the
careful.
worst kind to spoil.
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
Okay.
you find out all of that. All of the good stuff is there. You
Okay.
just check it out if you enjoy horror movies at all.
So at the end of the movie, everyone who had sex dies. And you're like, oh, spoilers.
Fuck.
Aaron, did you watch anything interesting?
I just finished Jessica Jones season 1.
Oh, God. That means he's got like 9 more seasons. Oh, wait. No, Jessica Jones. I'm thinking Veronica Mars.
Nope, finished that one.
Okay. Did you like season 1?
I did, but I like Daredevil better.
That's fair. It's a better show.
The answer is yes. You're correct.
Yeah. Well, tell him what he's won.
Yeah.
It's Daredevil season 2.
That is next.
Yeah. So just stop watching Jessica Jones now.
She's number 8 on the list of 13 seasons. So,
Oh, it gets real bad.
oh, does it?
It's real hard to watch. Season 3 is even worse.
There's a season 3 of Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
There
it's
is.
real bad.
Really?
Oh no, wait. Maybe season
No.
2 was worse.
I thought
Season
season 3
two's-
season 3 of Jessica Jones was The Defenders. I thought that's kind of what it was.
Oh, well, you can call it that, but there is a season 3. I'm pretty sure.
Huh.
There is.
Yeah, because I think season 2 is her mom, right?
I haven't watched it yet. Thanks for spoiling it.
Well, it's the first episode. Like, it's not a spoiler. It's just like the.
No,
the
that's a
plot.
spoiler. I think you can go ahead and be, you can do spoilers.
I can't remember what the other one. Oh, the other one's about. Okay, yeah, her friend. That's the plot of the second one. It's all about her friend. That one was okay. The second one was really bad, and the third one was not good at all. But it wasn't as bad. And then the first season was really good. I thought, mostly just because David Tennant carried the show.
He did a really good job. I don't like mind control as a
No, yeah,
as a
the
plot
character.
construct.
The character's garbage, but he carried the role so hard that he made it interesting. But so just because of his performance in that, I went and watched all the things where he's the bad guy, and they all sucked. It's like, this is the only one he was ever good in. I was like, damn it. I just wanted to rekindle that moment. Okay.
There is not a better bad guy, I think, ever portrayed than the MCU's Wilson Fisk. He
With
kills
Vincent.
that. Yeah, he kills that so hard. It's the scene at the end of Daredevil 1 where he's in the cop car telling the story of the Good Samaritan. That might be one of the coolest bad guy scenes I have ever seen ever. It is so good. It just thinking about it blows me away.
Again, like Netflix casted amazing actors for throwaway dumb villains and like completely saved the role. Because like Jake was telling me, or maybe it was you, was telling me about how stupid Will Fisk is in like the comics. Because he's like, I have like, $80 million I need to keep safe. So he puts it in a vault in like a floor safe. And then he to lock it, air quotes, he covers it with a giant iron door that only he is strong enough to lift. And it doesn't lock. He's just the only one that can lift it. So immediately, like, Rhino steals all of his money because he's a superhuman. And it's like, what a fucking idiot. And he's, like, real mad. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like there's 100 people in New York that could lift this, you idiot.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, dissolve the door with magical powers.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
He is a very like he suffers from the era he was created in, like the
Mhm.
era they created in, the idea of like a
He's supposed to be
mob-
like Al
Yeah.
Capone, right?
Yeah. The era he's created as he was a caricature of a mob boss, and his like cool thing was he was also a sumo wrestler. Like that was like they were reaching really hard. In more modern versions, they honestly just I think they just more or less borrow Vincent D'Onofrio's version, right? Super super sinister. Like one of my favorite things in one of the at one point no reason, no context needed. A dark dimension is covering up New York City, and so nobody can get in or out. It's super dark all the time, and anarchy in the streets. There's no martial law because nobody can do anything. And so, who actually rises up to give some sort of order to the city? But Kingpin, like he actually reemploys all of his criminal syndicate to keep order. He like punishes crime and basically starts doing social services. He fills the role of a social service and criminal enforcement agency, and he's not doing a bad job. He's actually 100% just being a good Samaritan for the entirety of this terrible situation that's going on. And the whole point is to very insidiously drum up goodwill for himself. Like every single time he saves a group of people from anarchists or provides food for the needy, he says this is from Wilson Fisk, and like that kind of shit is awesome, right? Like what so much of a better
and then runs
villain.
for mayor 6 months later.
Right. What a better villain than I'm the owl. I'm going to go rob from this bank, and you're like, no, he's really amazing villain. But again, this is like in the past 5 years. This is like his version.
Yeah.
In the Ultimates universe, he hates Spider-Man so much, and to get back at him, he buys the licensing rights for Spider-Man's name, and he owns all the Spider-Man merchandise. Wilson Fisk owns the name Spider-Man, and he merchandises. He's responsible for this movie franchise and all the lunch boxes and the commercials, the candy with his face on it, all that stuff. All that money goes back to Wilson Fisk. That's how he gets back at Spider-Man, is by just owning his name literally and making a huge amount of profit, which of course he then uses to launder and facilitate a criminal empire. And just like, what a great villain, what a cool modern criminal. But yeah, not the way he started.
Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. Because everyone's sick. You guys gotta quit being sick.
I'm not sick.
You
I'm
threw
counting
up
this.
earlier.
You literally threw up.
That's right. I did get very terribly
You're
sick.
so
Jesus
sick you fucking
Christ.
forgot.
When I think the word sick, it's so weird. When I think the word sick, I think of only instantly like sinus. The
You're like,
thought
I'm
that-
not sick. It's like, bro, your arm fell off.
Oh yeah.
You're like Baby Groot when they come out of the jump gate and he's like, throws up all over himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely incredibly ill earlier, and I cannot even, because that's just like my normal now, right? Just being ill.
Well, that's what I was telling Brandon. I'm like, well, of course he's sick. He's always sick.
Yeah.
Someone in your house is usually deathly sick.
Yeah, you got up from your computer and walked away, and it kind of like cut out / you talked really quickly, and I wasn't paying attention. And so I looked up, and I was like, what did he just say? I was like, Jeremy, did you just say he's going to go get a bag to throw up in? Like, what the fuck? He just walks away
Like,
from his
yeah,
computer
what else
like
would he
there's
say?
no big deal. Yeah,
What else would he have said? I don't know.
yeah. So back on the topic of movies, is it The Martian is the one with Matt Damon where he gets stranded on Mars
Mm-hmm.
and he's a botanist?
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at botany today, and apparently some trees are actually really hard to grow. Parker, do you know which trees can be a handful?
No, which ones?
Palm trees. I feel like Parker was 9 steps ahead on that one.
Yeah.
And Jeremy was like, what's going on? And he's like, I know I'm going to hate it.
Yeah.
It's just Jeremy, just because they're palm trees.
Oh, is that what it was about?
That's what it was about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait for Warfare. I'm just going to follow you around with a camera the whole time. Just watch you just deadpan jokes all day.
I hope no one who listens to this podcast is fucking there either, because That will be some
Everyone
sort of
that tells
hellish
you a
nightmare.
dad joke, I'll give a free T-shirt to.
Jesus Christ, please.
They're not going to be Infamous T-shirts, just FYI. They're just my
just
T-shirts.
old shirts.
Old shirts. It's like, this is a polo from my last job. Here you go.
It's like, can you please not?
I'm doing it.
It'll be people be like,
Ooh, what
Jeremy,
if we give a free
Jeremy.
beer to everyone who tells you a joke?
oh my God, please don't.
Well, but just you could also drink a beer with all of them, and that way you'll just be blackout drunk by the end of it. You won't
I
have
guess
to
that's
suffer.
true.
Yeah.
Wow, what a fun game, y'all. Could we please do that? Jesus Christ.
I agree. That would also be a fun game.
Ugh. You know what? Maybe just on the team tournament day. I could get blackout drunk
Yeah.
on that day.
Yeah.
Did you guys decide what you're
I'm
playing
gonna be the worst.
Do we have a
partner.
plan yet?
No.
Yeah, we
I
have a
have
plan.
played
We're gonna
3
show
games
up.
and I've played 3 games in 3 months. What do you think? I'm debating even putting my stuff in the car tomorrow. Like, it's not even going to be worth it.
Why not?
Really?
We're done with everything, right?
Yeah, that's what that means.
Really, you wouldn't play a game of MCP at a con? No.
What?
I
No, I
refuse to
mean
believe that.
tomorrow, not for the convention. I'm going to take my stuff to the convention.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant. Like you weren't even going to put your
No,
stuff
no.
in your car.
No, I mean, like when I get done unloading my car in the morning. So, like, the reason I was 10 minutes late to the podcast was I had to drive an hour and 30 minutes to get here, and before that, I was unloading and cleaning an entire house, basically, like the entire bottom half of a house for the previous 6 hours, and then was like, I went to stop for food on the way back. I stopped at a Freddy's because it was just on the side of the highway. I was like, whatever, I'll get a steak burger because that actually sounds good. Even though I hate Freddy's, like they're a terrible restaurant.
Mhm.
And so I get in there, I pull up, I was like, all right, well, I'll get this and then like a shake and just whatever. And they're like, okay, $12. I'm like, how the fuck is that $12? Whatever. So I pull half a car forward and wait in line for 10 minutes. The line moves 0 inches in 10 minutes. I just like, fuck this, drive away. It's like, I'm in a hurry. Like, I'm already going to be fucking late. And so I keep going down the highway, and now there's a Taco Bell in Platte City. So I stop in Platte City for Taco Bell. And I get number 7, which is a quesadilla meal. I have never had a quesadilla weigh 3 pounds before. Have you guys ever had like these miracle late night Taco Bell workers that don't give a shit about how much shit they put on your
Oh.
quesadilla? And it's just like, this is the heaviest quesadilla I've ever felt. Like, it was hard to eat. It was so full. Like, I was like, holy shit. I just now realized that I've actually given out the address to that Taco Bell and someone might get in trouble. That was a good employee. Don't penalize that employee.
One time I went to Burger King in Lawrence because everything in Lawrence is open 24/7 because of how many people are
Mhm.
always up late.
Yeah, it's the college.
Yeah. And so we went to a Burger King with some friends of mine. This after the bars had closed and I was DDing and no one was shit faced, but everyone had a good time. And it was like 2:30. And we drive to this Burger King and we pull up and I talk to the speaker thing and it doesn't do anything. Like it doesn't say anything. And I said like, hello, you there? And like nothing, like no static, no nothing. And all of a sudden I hear from the window, like 50, yards away, just pull around. Like he's yelling out the window to us. And I'm like, okay. So we pull over to this guy and it's just some guy, like no Burger King outfit, no bill or brim, no like shirt that has a logo,
It's
nothing.
just some guy.
It's just
Yeah.
some guy, and he's like, "Hey, what do you guys want?" And we're like, could you get like 4 burgers and like just like fries with that?" And he's like, "No, we got all kind of stuff. What kind of things would you like?" And we're like, "What? What do you mean? What do you mean? Why would you? What?" He goes, "Here," and he just starts unloading just ass loads of food at us. Just like he's like, "You guys want chicken nuggets?" And he just starts handing us like 12-piece chicken nuggets. And we're like, "What? I guess we can eat these." Like, "Are you supposed to be?" I turn around, "Are you supposed to be giving these to us?" He goes, "Oh yeah." And he just keeps handing us food. And
It's like there's a hostage situation
Yes!
inside. He's just trying to get rid of you.
Yes, we were just like, did somebody break into the Burger King? What? Like he never explains himself. He just insists on giving us a bunch of food, and we're college kids. We're super poor. We're like, just thanks a lot, I guess. Everybody in the back seat was floored. Like, why does we keep handing us food? Like, they don't get that I keep passing them things. They're like, why was all this food ready? We didn't even tell them what we wanted. It's just like,
I haven't ordered
They
yet.
just-
This isn't what I wanted.
they just have like piles of nuggets and like biscuits and salads, just random shit. And and so he's like, see ya, and he closes the window, and I'm like, okay, and I pull away, and everyone in the car like comes to, and it's like, what just happened? And I was like, I don't know. I think we
robbed a Burger
I
King.
think we just saw Burger King get robbed, and we were participating, and they were like cool with us being there. Like I like the picture, like we ran over the because they have those little pressure sensors next to the drive-through window, right?
Mhm.
That's how they know you're there. And like a
Yeah.
little bing, little like ding dong, like it had happened in there. Like, oh shit, somebody's here. What do we do? And like, let's give them some food. It's like throw open the window, just pull around.
In my one of my first jobs, I was working fast food at a Quiznos Subs, and I was talking to one of my other employees, and he was like, "Yeah, like I didn't get trained my first 2 weeks on the job, and so like I came into work and I was here for like 5 minutes, and I was like the guy had me doing dishes. And he's like, "Hey, I gotta step out real quick," and then he left for 3 hours. And like that was the manager. So he's the only person there, someone who's worked there for 5 minutes with no training and has only done dishes. And so people start walking in wanting food, and he's like, I don't know how to make anything. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Shit.
And then so they all just left. It's like for 2.5 hours, the guy was basically sitting in a chair behind the counter of a sub place, and just when people come in, he's like, I can't make food.
Oh,
And they
man.
leave. And so eventually, one guy came in. He's like, yeah, let me get the number 3. He's like, no, I can't make any food. He's like, why can't you make any food? You're sitting right there. He's like, no, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, oh, well, I know how to make it. And he's like, okay, go for it. And the guy comes by the counter. He's like making his own food.
Wow.
Like, yeah, that's horrific.
Good. Well, at
being
Quiznos,
against
that's
self-code.
right. At Quiznos, you can see them make the food. So if you've been there enough, you
Yeah.
could probably just put it together, right?
Well, I've been since I worked there for a while, I've been to many Quiznos, and I'm like, can I just make it? You're doing a really bad job. Like the quality difference of a good Quiznos and a bad Quiznos is insane.
Huh.
Like, the good Quiznos is like some of the best sandwiches I've ever had. Bad Quiznos is like, I will not eat this.
Quiznos
It's
has
really annoying.
Quiznos has by far my favorite advertising campaign of anything I think ever. Was those stupid, like weird ass lemur things. It's Quiznos subs. I don't know why.
I never saw any.
Oh,
of
you
those.
never
Wow.
saw any of those commercials? Oh man. That
I only know the toasted. Like that's
oh
the
right,
only
because
one I
that's
know.
their like motto thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But that those weird ass Quiznos, you would hate these commercials. So I'm gonna send one to you right now.
I probably would. Yeah.
You would.
So I ate the same sandwich every day for like 3.5 years when I was working there. Because I worked like every day because I was like out of high school. And so I was working like 3-hour shifts every day and just fitting in gaming in between. And I ate a chicken carbonara, which is they had this amazing bacon Alfredo sauce was the base. So it's like a bacon Alfredo sauce dressing on the bread. Then it's marinated mesquite chicken, bacon, pepper jack cheese, and garlic salt. And it is so... I just talking about it, my mouth is watering. Like, it's so good. I ate it every day for 3 years, and then every time I go there, I still get the same fucking sandwich. It's so good.
So I have an interesting sub story. Now that we're on the subject, last
Ooh.
weekend up in Nebraska for Blood Bowl, went to Subway for lunch, and I always get my subs not toasted,
Mhm.
just with like the meat and cheese warmed up. And you know, like one person does half of it, then they like slide it over to the other person, and they do all the vegetables and stuff. So this young woman gets my sandwich while the meat's still cooking, and you know, I tell her everything I want on it, and she's just heaping the shit on there. And I'm like, okay, I have no fucking clue you're gonna put all this meat in there, but we'll see. Like, I'm the kind of person that likes to just see what other people are gonna do. Anyway, so she finally like it's way overflowing. She tries to fold it to cut it in half, and everything falls out. And then she's got to try to figure out how to get it into the basket because we eat in.
Yeah.
So she takes it and she just dumps it topping side down in the basket. So it's got the bread on the top and it looks perfect. And I'm like, That was not the appropriate solution to that problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me grab a fork to eat my fucking sandwich now because you just gave me a bread bowl.
Eat this, stupid.
You were so happy until you saw the execution.
Yeah, I was just like,
"God
I just
damn
want to see what you do. Okay, didn't want to see that. Oh well.
I get so annoyed when I watch people try and fold sandwiches. And they're like, "Oh, I better be careful because it's bread." Like they don't know how to fold something. I'm like, how bad can you be at manual dexterity? Like, come on. Like,
I feel like what you witnessed is exactly how I feel every time I go to every
That's
time I go to
every day.
Chipotle. Like they're like filling it. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that's too much. And they're like filling it. I'm like, this is not gonna work. Then this guy just grabs one end of it like a fucking fitted blanket, right? And just like roar, rips it across, tears it across, folds it, rolls it.
punching
I'm like,
it, just
I'm like,
punching
holy
it,
shit,
mounting
it's
it.
working. And then it's like, boom, it's on the plate or whatever, and it's perfect. I'm like, oh my god, I just witnessed a miracle.
Yeah. I feel the opposite. I get a bowl, and I feel like they intentionally put half as much in the bowl. And I'm like, but why? Like, it holds more. Like, but they put less in it.
I know, because it's not
But
part
then
of
you
this
get the
dare they
tortilla,
always
and they
work
like
at.
rip the tortilla in 9 places trying to roll it up. I'm like, why did you put more in the tortilla? Like, I'm getting
crazy.
less food. Give me more. Anyway, burrito bowls are the way to go. If you don't know about the burrito bowl in Chipotle, don't have them wrap it in old gross bread. Just eat it out of a bowl.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it for us today. Do you guys have anything else you want to chat about?
No.
Did we get to talk about She-Hulk last time? Did we talk about She-Hulk or not?
No, because Aaron had not finished it.
Still haven't.
And
Oh.
he still has not because he's an Aaron.
Okay, still has not finished it. That was my last thing.
Yeah.
I really, really want to talk to someone about She-Hulk, but I get it.
You're gonna make me angry.
You wouldn't like you when you're angry. I just want to talk to somebody about the end. I thought it was. That's all I'll say. I want to talk to somebody about the end.
I thought it was.
I thought it was.
I'm going to put that in here.
I'm
Parker.
trying
Hold on,
really
wait.
hard not
Quote,
to spoil
I
things.
thought it was ... end quote dash one who parks.
I'm trying really hard not to spoil
That's in the
things.
show notes now. It's in the show notes.
Good job.
It's important.
Yeah. We can talk about it tomorrow before Aaron gets there at open.
I was gonna say that's not gonna happen.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Okay,
Calm
like,
down.
I
Relax.
can't click the X button. That'd be bad.
That would be bad.